Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today, we're talking about the AI agent Genspark. And today, I'm joined by Brian, Junmi, Andy. And I think today's an important topic because, well, we're reviewing a product, but I think it is the gateway to where a lot of people believe essentially the internet is going and where AI is moving towards, right? So I guess before we get before we go into it, I want to showcase what Genspark is. If you've ever heard of the tool like Manus, it's very similar. It's the less well-known version of Manus. Let me see here. I'm gonna share the entire screen because I want to showcase this. Okay. Do I need to do anything else? No. Oh, perfect. Yes. Okay. So this is Genspark. At first, it looks very similar to your large language models, right? You have your chat. In this case, I'm using the move this over. I'm using the I'm on the plus plan, and so you get all these versions, and they're pretty good at updating to the recent version. Funny enough, yesterday, the Genspark person, I forgot the person's name. You have unlimited O3 Pro. That is their last message. I think their announcement yesterday. So it is, I think, $20 or $30 per month. So if you really like using Pro, here's another option for you to do it.
I wonder how they're pulling off that. If that's like what we were talking about, Andy and I were talking about yesterday about being a loss leader. Like, how are you offering unlimited O3 Pro at the $20 a month? It seems like there's something missing there. Do they throttle you? Is it not really unlimited? Anyway, I know you're doing your thing, but I'm curious.
Yeah. Now, how this entire thing works, though, it isn't just because you pay X numbers of dollars a month, or I think $30 or $20 a month, doesn't mean you get unlimited everything. You do have credits.
Okay.
Right. So there's a point where you could buy more credits, but you do get like credits per month. So it's literally pay per use. What's nice about this is you got the chat, cool, you got the search web, but what you start having is these various different elements. So let's take it through it. The Genspark super agent incorporates all of these things. So you can ask it to do a deep research, a call, sheet, slides, everything. But let's go through it. So the first thing is slides. So what you can do here is, let's continue the conversation. I don't like what it does that sometimes because it kind of it gives you an example, which I didn't really want to use. But anyway, so here's the example, and then you're ready to create the slides. You upload whatever you need. What I've done, actually, so this is kind of the power of this, and I'm going a little bit further. I wanted it to review the McKinsey report that came out, I think, a couple days ago. And then let's just focus on the slides first. So I think the slides is one of the most impressive thing out of this entire, like, of everything that Genspark does. It's, I would say, top 2 things it can do. So it read the report. Now it gave me slides for it. What makes this different, and I was just testing this out, is I gave it our logo and it incorporated the logo right on top. Then I told it, and a little bit further down here, I said, hey, I want you to use Inter, like the font Inter, and it used Inter. Then I said, hey, these are our color palettes, which is orange and purple, and it used that. So the next test I was going to do is upload my entire deck and see if it can recreate the deck exactly as is. We haven't done that yet. What's also nice about slides is, first of all, you can and into PDF or PowerPoint and then edit it in PowerPoint. Or you can even present it here or publish it directly online. What I love about this is you can edit the slides. So I can go in and be like this. I can fact check the content, and I've done that before, but I can select this and I can say, hey, I want to edit this, and I can edit it right here. I can edit this, edit, edit, edit. I can take out these individual icons that it's created to and ask it to create something different. So you can do that for every single slide that you have. So I thought that was a really neat, like really awesome feature. Here's a couple other slides that I wanted to show. Let's see here. This one. Okay. So this is a little bit forward. No, notebook, nope. Sheets, nope. Where's the slides? I'll show you some of this in a bit. I just thought some of the way that it's created some of these slides and laid out facts that it's researched is outstanding. Like just how it's done it. I haven't seen a slide, something like a slide developer, maybe Gamma. I haven't used Gamma in so long, but maybe it does this. But this is pretty amazing what it can do based on its own research, right? And then the ability to edit it and the ability to, hey, I want you to do something else with it or change it. I thought that was really neat. So that's slides. Before I continue, because there's still sheets and there's agents, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, yeah, just a couple follow-up. The ability to edit within the app itself sounds really great. Is this what you would call a primary use of Genspark, or is this just one of the things that they list?
One of the things.
Okay. And so obviously we're seeing, various pitch decks and things like that you're doing for business applications.
Yeah.
Does Genspark break down exactly the tools that you'll be able to work with? And is there and you were saying about, you like how it researches and everything. I'm assuming you can follow up on all of the sources that it used for the information and all of that kind of stuff as well, right?
Yeah. So I'll just take you into a couple of the features, and then I'll show you what the research looks like, which is pretty impressive too. Let's go into sheets. So it can create sheets. The example that I showed was just on for that. So part of what it did for me is one of the instructions was FAQ budget, line items, and timeline. Now it made the numbers up because I never gave it any budget. But if you did provide it research, it will provide the sheets. So for example, the budget here. So you press that, and then here's the budget that it came up with, right? And then you can continue, similar like slides, you can continue it into sheets. And then fact check, edit content. You can edit it directly, obviously, in here, right? So it's like, oh, I don't want that, change that, and so on. And then you can view and export as well. So an export to CSV, which then you can change and edit in Excel or Google Sheets, right? So there's that capability. You can use it just for this. So you have just the slides, which I think is amazing, just the sheets, which is its own data analysis. And then let's go back to all agents. So you have a really cool feature, which I don't think any AI tool has yet done, is what's called download for me. So what this does is it's part of super agent. You can ask the super agent to do it. But let's say you're on, the research page. So let's say, for example, we're on, I don't know, I think AVRX research area. No, I just wanted to go AVIX research. Okay. So let's say we go here and we want to download, I don't know. Let's take a look at mathematics search. And I don't know what happened there. Quantitative finance. There's nothing. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm going to go back to Genspark here. I'm going to go to the download for me. I'll paste this. And what it will do, which I don't really want it to do. So you could either connect it to one of these things. So let's say copy link and go back here and copy paste it. And it'll just download this report and put it into, it has its own drive that it will create for you. But more importantly, I'm going to close that. If I go to Super Agent and I say, hey, go to this page and download like all these links that have PDFs in it, it will download all the PDFs and put it into a drive like it did here. So it created its own kind of folder structure for stuff. So for example,
is there a size limit to that drive, do you know?
Pardon?
Is there like a known size limit? I mean, I know it's documents.
There
so
is. There's 50 gigabytes. You got 50 gigabytes, and then you have to.
Oh, okay. That's probably.
There's not. Yeah. It's not eventual, right? But what's neat about this?
Hey, Carl, go back to. Do me a favor, quickly. Just go. I don't want to add a point here, which is go back to the Super Agent tab, and you notice down in the bottom there, it shows that Notion and Google are integrated for Carl. And that is a feature that's related to Download for Me in the sense that you could access the things that you had Genspark download for you in your drive on Genspark, but you also have direct integration with a Notion database or Google Drive, Mail, and Calendar. So it's got all of those features built in once he establishes those integrations.
Which, okay,
point and click.
I did want to build on that, Andy, because I think there's a little bit of different capabilities with different tools. So for example, in ChatGPT, when you have these connectors, right? Because Genspark has different connectors too. If you, let's say, run deep research, here's a bunch of sources, right? So let's just go into settings and you go into connectors. I think what's important for people to realize that what Genspark does and what ChatGPT does is two different things. So if you go into Dropbox, it can research what's in your Dropbox through deep research, but it isn't as if you can just say, I want to know something about whatever is in my Dropbox. You actually have to run deep research on it. You can't just talk to it as if it's like that. Versus Genspark, which you can, and versus where does it go? Versus a Claude, which you can too. So the performance of connectors or MCPs are different across the board. So it's different per platform, which is kind of a little bit annoying because you don't know what you're getting. It's like, oh, I can do deep research here. So for example, in Claude, I said, go into my Google Analytics, give me the top highlights, blah, blah, blah. But also you can take action, send a draft email to this and post to Slack. And by that alone, through an MCP, it'll do it. And you can do that in Genspark, but you can't do that in ChatGPT. So just an important difference in when we start talking about this, because these are very, very important pieces now. Because I can say, hey, in Notion, I want you to create this. And because it's connected, it'll create in Notion for me, right? So those are starting to be a little bit of the differences. Anyway, so we were on AI drives, and then there's the deep research capabilities. I won't go into that too much. This is kind of fun. So you can pick a business describe the purpose of your call, and it will literally call. Literally call.
Okay.
Straight
and
up.
It's called Call for Me.
Does anybody want to test this online?
No, I feel bad for the business.
So what's funny is I actually did it to this company here. So as part of the engagement strategy, it wanted to call the Copperfield Community Center to book the date of the actual public engagement, whenever that was. And it found the number, and then I pressed this button, and it actually started the call, like started it straight up. Now, luckily, it was an answering machine, but I was doing like a demo of this to another company, and here it is. So we tested it with a group of, like, it was a workshop, and so I had Genspark call this person to donate to the Calgary Marketing Association for $100. So it actually thinks through. It's like, oh, when considering comment, it seems like reaching out to a person account rather than a business, right? It actually, quote unquote, thinks through what it's going to do. And then you can actually see it in real time. And it's actual conversation. It has the recording and the summary. So it's kind of funny because he expressed skepticism about donating. I think that's a pretty shitty idea. And it just recorded the entire conversation. So I thought that was it's a nice touch. You can tell it's AI, but I can only imagine. I was thinking this company needs to connect with 11 Labs and or Vappy or Bland to really get it good. But I'm sure within 6 months, just the improvements they're making to this is outstanding of what it can do.
And don't forget, 11 Labs doesn't really need to connect to this. They have their own solution for this.
Yeah.
11 Labs is building on their side of things.
I think the only thing though is when you're asking it to do multiple steps, like, so for example, that public engagement, it'd be nice that the call for me is 11 Labs, because that would just obviously take it to the next level. So when we put it all together, this is the last thing before last thing I'm going to talk about is you can give it just instructions and it will literally do, like, this pretty much did all of the agent capability. So it did the research, so public engagement campaign. So it did research on the specific topics. It researched accessing a PDF that the city of Calgary had. Then it checked the location, so it had the map. Then it did it got the coordinates of exactly where it's supposed to be. This one, it was, I can't remember what it was developing. Oh, it was developing its budget or something like that. And then it created a campaign budget. Oh, this is amazing too. It created a full web page, like a landing page for it. I thought that was amazing. Here's the completed elements. And then, would you like me to proceed with media creation? So video, images, slides, microsites. So it created the image using VO2. It created the video using Imagen 4, but then it created using VO2. I'm sure within 3 months, this is going to be VO3. And that's a conservative estimate too, right? Now, this is pretty crappy video, so I probably won't use that. But you can kind of tell it's getting better. Then it created, obviously, the slide deck for you. Then created the microsite, right? Which is actually pretty darn good. It's a pretty darn good, small little site with, I don't know. This one, I feel like we need to connect this somewhere. I have a feeling with that MCP connector, let's say MailChimp or something, you could probably create that form on here. Then the call action. It created a social media campaign with the image, with the video, all the elements related to it. I thought that was neat. I think a campaign website with all the elements again. And here's all the assets. And yeah, and then you can again, because of its connection to all this stuff, you can save it to Notion. So that I want to stop there because there's another thing that I wanted to showcase, which is the Genspark browser, which I downloaded that too.
Okay.
But
So
we can have a discussion on this first.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions from my side. So number one, what's the expected turnaround on when you're running a query like this or a request like this? How long does it normally take? What should we expect?
I would say within 5-10 minutes.
Okay, that's great. And can you so these landing sites, the websites and stuff like that, can you edit it like you could the slides, or is this a little more standalone and you'd have to regenerate it?
So
you couldn't select an element on this page right now and just say, oh
no, you can't.
Okay.
I think that is coming. That was something on their either Discord that they were talking about. It's like, because you can edit the slides. I think what they want to do is edit the actual campaign. Gotcha. And then like start editing all these things. But then again, if you really wanted to, if you knew how,
yeah. Right? I was just wondering if it was a built-in thing like the slides. And then the second one is you said there's credits, right? So what does a typical run? How many credits does a typical run cost?
I haven't been paying attention to the credits because I got a whole bunch for a promo. They just like, oh, that's really awesome. I haven't really fully pushed this to like build like a crazy thing because I'm like, it's one of those like you're still trying to test it, and there's what I did here in terms of the presentation, that was one thing that I'm like, oh, it can actually legit review an article and then do something else with it, like all in one spot, right? And you can do that with like Claude too, but like start adding all these elements to it. Not that all your tasks will, but I wanted to stress it more and more and more that can it be your standalone actual quote unquote agent? But there are limitations too, because one of the things I always look for is like, hey, log into my Office 365, and it can't do that. So it can't log into certain things in here, but in its browser, it can. So which is kind of crazy. So I think that's why they created the browser.
All right. So before we go on to the browser, I mean, if anyone else has other questions, I was just thinking about this so they've broken their AI agents into particular things like slides, sheets, chat, that kind of stuff. And then there's the general one, super agent. And we've seen mostly business type applications of it or whatnot. Have you tried it has it been successful in doing stuff that are just outside of that realm?
Like what do you mean?
Like, I don't know, off the top of my head, can it like edit a video or some crazy stuff like that?
No, I don't think it can do like edit a video because I don't think it has that capability. Like outside of like, these are literally its quote unquote tools, right? Call, deep search, download, and then create pages. You could vibe code quote unquote on this. I've never tried it. Like I would.
Okay. So potentially you could make a game, just like how Claude codes a game and stuff like that.
You know what? Why don't we give it a shot? What kind of game did you want?
Something simple. How about Tetris?
Create for me the game Tetris. Let's go run it. Let's see what it does.
While you're doing that too, Carl, I think so. I watched what you've presented here, and I watched about 4 different YouTube videos on Genspark in prep of this show. And I'm going to be honest. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to say this or if I felt like I was going to if it sounded like I'm being negative, but I don't see a moat here. I honestly, with what I'm watching Google do with Gemini right now, in fact, they just released more stuff, but not in for today's conversation. We could maybe talk about it tomorrow, Jimmy, on the news. But just with some of the stuff that Gemini has now connected to and how fast they're connecting to more things and where they're going with like faster releases inside of just Chrome. I'm not saying they're at this level yet, but I also don't think they're far off. And I think there's zero moat between what I'm seeing from Genspark and what your basic Chrome will be able to do in short order. And the upside of that is that you're playing. I mean, this is for people who trust it. Obviously, I don't want to speak for everybody. It's people who love to be inside Microsoft products, and obviously Microsoft is handling that, and Google's doing the same, right? If you're, I've said this before, Scaled as a Google shop, right? We have Gmail and Google Drive and all that, and the benefit for me, and I would imagine a lot of other people who are in these types of systems, we know Perplexity is building one as well, where they're trying to build their sort of own ecosystem, is that I'm direct connecting within Google to Google, right? I'm staying within the ecosphere, so to speak. So I just wonder, and I'm not picking on Genspark because, like, to your point, I personally have not seen something as good as Genspark put together the slide deck. Like, it's better than anything I've previously seen. I saw that in the videos as well. But I don't know that I'm seeing anything from Genspark that makes me think either one, wow, I'm going to start using this today, or two, there's something that's like uniquely a moat that I think that they have protection around that would save them from just being gobbled up by a ChatGPT, a Microsoft, a Google. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't see it, but I also feel like maybe I'm just being negative to it, but I can't figure out where the secret sauce is here.
Well, I get your point, and I think that they deserve commendation for productizing a wide range of tools and connectors and features and models in a way that few others have attempted. So if you think about the slides example that we got a great demo of, using Gemini in Google Slides doesn't even come close to what you can do here.
Correct. I agree. Yeah. I'm not, just to be clear, Andy, as you're responding, I'm not saying that Google is here yet, for sure. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'd say they deserve this commendation for productizing many of the AI capabilities into a single platform that's really, really comprehensively managed by a set of parallel agents that are under specialist coordination from some master LLM that you can select. And that so I want to take a tangent here. I had this question of you, Carl. The only place that you select specifically from that range of models that you can select from is in chat.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do a super agent task, I think I recall having seen that there was a marker somewhere that in its interactions with me, it was using the model that I had selected in chat previously. And so right now I have it set for Gemini 2.5 Pro. And so I think I'm using 2.5 Pro even when I'm doing a coding exercise, for example, like we just did the example of let's build Tetris. I think when you do that, although Super Agent has the ability, if you don't specify a model, to pick the right model for the task that you've asked for, it's not clear in the UI. So I wanted to see if you had that same experience of, when you do something like Tetris, which model is it using? It's not clear.
I'm not sure which model it uses too. And that was the thing I sent a note to. It's like, hey, could I choose my models in Super Agent? No one really got back to me. So I'm not sure. The thing is, though,
again, my one point of information is that I can't demonstrate this right now because I have just too many tabs on that on my Genspark or too many chats on my Genspark thing, and trying to find it would be difficult. But I believe that when I was doing a detailed analysis of a car tax, sales tax purchase complication between the state of Ohio and California, where it was ultimately registered, it was using the model that I had selected for chat, but it was doing data analysis in that way. And there might be other models that are better at data analysis than 2.5 Pro. But anyway, minor point. Let's go on, because I think there's a lot of capability in the browser that we ought to talk about.
One thing that I did notice, though, is the ability to, it does it for you. You can't really set it yourself. So let's say it's creating a video. In the example I showed you, it was using VO2, but in another time it was using Kling 2.1 or something else. So it changes, but you can't really set it. So it's very interesting because it'd be for power users, it'd be like, yeah, I want to use Runway for this, Kling for this, Flux for this, Imagen for that. But I think like for the general person, they're not going to be doing that, right? So I think that's balance. It'd be very interesting balance that Genspark has. And, you know, Brian, literally this morning when I was about to present that, and when I was doing what I was doing here with Claude, I was like, someone is eventually going to buy these. It only makes sense for one of these companies to buy this company. It like, just like Windsurf, it's like, I was like, it'd be crazy for you not to buy it because it does the stuff that your model wants it to do. With Claude, right? Like I have MCPs connected to it and be like, hey, I want you to go Google Analytics, do this, send me an email, blah, blah, blah. And it's really, really good at like creating an interactive presentation on stuff, right? And it can, and with MCP, it can send to my email and then to my Slack. And it's really good at it if you know how to connect it. Unfortunately, it's kind of difficult, right? It's difficult for, right? It's just,
all of them are hard. Yeah.
And if you find the raw, like, and how many MCP servers, if people don't even know what that is, one, and two, how many of them work and then don't work? So I think it's all like kind of a big guessing game right now. And yes, you can use Zapier's MCP and it works sometimes too, but like it's still kind of a little bit more technical. But the transition to that would be the Genspark browser. And
so let me just as you're pulling it up, Carl, I guess my question there is, because you've talked about this on the show, so that's why I'm like asking you as well. But when we're like, you know how you said on the show before, like, I mean, why wouldn't I just build that myself type of thing? Like, you know, we've had those kind of conversations. So what is to basically stop a Chrome from basically having agent extensions? What we know today is an extension on Chrome that serves a certain purpose. And there's companies that have extensions and then people who have built one-off extensions that, like, I had a color picker that I used to use all the time because it would tell me the exact RGB code for any color on my screen.
I have that too. I love it. I love that color.
Probably like 30 lines of code total. And I use that thing all the time until Chrome was like, it doesn't meet, it doesn't meet our standards anymore. And they shut it down. Anyway, I say that to say, like, what's to stop when we look, and I'm not picking on Genspark. I want people to know that. Like, I would probably say the thing if Perplexity's comment was out right now. I'd probably say the same thing about Operator, right? But like, when I look at what some of these major players are doing in a Genspark, I mean, maybe Google sees something so valuable in what the tech is for a Genspark that they absorb them, or maybe a Facebook does with Meta, you know, or something like that. I mean, I agree with you. Maybe the exit strategy is to get bought out, build something cool, get bought out before you get overrun. Great, right? But also, don't we kind of just see a future here where there's just a bunch of extensions that are essentially these, you know, I hate to use the term agents, but are essentially these AI workflows that will just jump off like a Phantom Buster would to go do a set of tasks that could also be scheduled? I mean, I don't know.
I think you can. I think like you would probably be able to say that for a large majority of products in the AI space right now.
I agree.
Like,
right.
I agree. How many times have I talked to prospects, clients, and be like, hey, there's this company that was trying to sell us this. And I'm like, oh, what does it do? And they were describing it to me. I'm like, that's a custom GPT that I can build.
Yeah, it's a wrapper.
I was like, why? And they're like, how much are they charging? $45K a month. I was like, damn, business I'm in. So there's tons of that, right? So I can only, but I think like the major models only have so many resources and people to do certain things, right?
Sure.
Right. So I don't think an OpenAI at the moment would be like, oh, let's do this.
Right.
Because maybe it's like, they're like, oh, Genspark does it. I'm going to buy it. And it, like, there's nothing, there is no moat, right? There literally is no, every single piece of this, every step technically your large language model could do
Right.
less, some more shitty than others, but like it can technically do it. Manus, Genspark, Flowwise are one of the ones that put it all together in a more smooth way than your large language model can. Like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini can't really do it the way that Genspark could do it right now.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they can't do it in 6 months. I don't know what the roadmap of those companies are, but here's the focus. So that's really interesting. The other thing that's very interesting here too is the tooling, right? Because so they can add all the connectors, and they have like these MCP tools as well. And then you can also add new MCPs to it. And on top of that, they already have their MCP tools from different communities that they put in too. So
yeah, which could be a moat. It could be.
It could be a moat, but I don't think
community going.
I don't think MCPs are a moat, because like if I can do anything that I can do here, I can do here in Claude. Anything that you can put in, I can put in here and ask it to do the same thing. So I'm not sure what their roadmap is. I don't know what the moat is, but I think let's stop and think back. Forget the tool. What's exciting is what Satya Nadella was saying, where he's like, your agent using MCP, whether it's Genspark, whether it's Claude, whether it's ChatGPT, the ability for your agent to go out and start doing these things, it may have been a pipe dream, like what we thought 6 months ago. It's not a pipe dream. It's like, holy cow, it's very, very close to like being as really smooth. 6 months, 3 months, I don't know, but like, I don't know if you all agree with me. You can see the roadmap, and you can see the path that we're all going to be going down.
Let me just say that this company may be a pretty large company. It's a Chinese company. I don't know. It might.
Oh no, it's not. I researched. They're out of Palo Alto. Manus.
Oh, are they really? Okay.
Yeah, the founders are.
Why do I have this mistaken impression that they were both Manus and Genspark were Chinese?
Manus is Chinese because they're. Yeah, okay. I actually looked at it like, where's the So this is.
Well, they could have that their offices are in Palo Alto doesn't mean they're not a Chinese company, but that's not even relevant. What I was going to say is these companies, Manus and Genspark particularly, are distinctive in my mind because they offer a wide range of models, and they do not have their teams focused on developing models like frontier models. That's what OpenAI is focused on. That's what Google's focused on. And that's what Anthropic is focused on. The tooling around it is, I think, being demonstrated. The future availability of tooling and connection for agentic AI is being demonstrated by Manus and Genspark today. And that's going to be a roadmap for the future for those others to catch up. But the others are going to be inclined to use only their own models in whatever tool set they put forward. Why? Because that's going to favor their revenue model. So anyway, that's my point. By the way, I just wanted to add that when you select the model in Genspark, there is a selection that says, I forget what it was, multi-agent. It mixes whatever agents are in that long list. Whenever whenever the agent determines, that's orchestrating agent determines which models are important for which tasks. So multiple models can be involved in one of the Genspark initiatives, let's call it.
Yeah. It would be nice to be able to do it manually. I just don't think I don't know how that would technically work and so on, like in terms of the actual.
That's a complicated UI.
Yeah, that seems a little complicated.
Yeah.
So I just want to go over Genspark's browser. I don't think if you are a power user of one of the other big browsers, you probably won't use this. There are some things that you could use it for to me, it's one of the, I really like the ability of it to ask questions against like YouTube videos. It's like top highlights of this video. And I don't know if it does shorts, but maybe it does. I haven't really gone into it. I don't know what it's using to understand. I don't know what it's. Sure.
So right now we're looking at the Genspark browser. Do they have a special name for it, or is it just called browser?
Genspark browser.
Browser, okay. You gotta love AI and their naming conventions. Okay.
Well, it's better than /8/06/2025,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it does. I for pure.
What are we doing right now? We're analyzing this video.
Analyze the video. So I just did that, right? So you can do that. One of the things I like doing too is like, give me the top 20. Let's say, give me the top 20 recurring themes from this account. So it has the built-in X scraper, I think. And so it's automatically turned on, which I thought was a kind of neat account. So if you're like looking for specific people on X, like AI people who post like a lot of cool stuff, this one, he does a lot of vibe coding stuff. So it does the recurring piece of that. Forgot what else you can do. Yes.
Just to clarify, the Genspark browser does all the standard browser things. Is it,
yes.
Built off of a specific engine or
I think it's all, from my understanding, it's off the Brave.
Okay, so it's a Chrome.
That's right. I saw that in another YouTube video.
Yeah.
Smart move, by the way.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I'm just gonna go back to home. So
to access, so far you've been asking questions of the agents through the Genspark website in the browser. Can you ask these questions on every single site that you're on?
Yeah. Okay. So give me a site, like something that you would want to ask questions on.
Let me also add that on Genspark, they have a search on Genspark Chrome extension where you can launch Genspark queries directly from the Chrome search box. So we're talking about Genspark's browser, but in answer to your question, Junmi, yes, you can invoke Genspark queries directly from Chrome just with an extension. And Manus has a Chrome extension builder built into it. So you can add lots of different unique capabilities to Chrome using Manus.
All right. So what are we asking right now?
Well, I asked it to log into my Office 365 account, which it's doing right now, as you can see here. And it because I gave it my instructions, I already did.
I was just saying,
the request.
Sorry.
I was just curious. You said you gave it instructions. You had already given it your login and password.
Yeah, I already provided it, so it can automatically log in. But what's nice about the browser, like Operator, it can go into those systems, right? It's like, oh, cool. And then I can then ask it. It's like, I haven't done this. Create a Copilot agent.
So it looks like whatever request that you're making, it's opening up a new tab and executing into that new tab.
Yes.
And then you can continue from there.
Yeah. So let's see what it can do. And you see what it was doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The screen vision where it puts the blocks around everything.
Okay. I don't know what it's doing right now. So I'm just gonna click it to help it out.
I would say this could be interesting using your account on a live stream here.
Sure.
You're gonna have to shut this down quick if it starts giving out information from Carl. Always the exciting part of doing live.
Right. Just don't go to the settings page. Right?
We'll
be all right.
Personal information.
So okay, so I was like, go create me a Copilot agent.
We've got, while you're doing this too, Carl, we do have a couple questions in the comments that are just about, like, is this better than Manus? Do we trust this more than Manus? You know, I don't know. Those are all, there's not a particular answer to that, but like, what is your opinion, I guess, on that? I would say there's not a fact on that, I don't think, but what's your opinion? Or Andy, you've used it too. I haven't, but what are your guys' opinions on that? Do you generally think this is better than Manus? And if so, why?
I tried I tried it head to head for a couple of tests. Like, so for example, that public engagement one, Genspark by far gave me the better outputs. So it gave me the better web page, the better slide, the better just campaign in general. Just overall, the ability to edit the slide, the ability to edit the sheets. Manus gave me it. It was still good, but the output was still better. And I've run it twice. I ran out of Manus credits, so I don't really pay for Manus. And then I ran it against Flowwise. I like the output of Flowwise. I just don't like the UI of how it's kind of like in this waterfall drop thing where I have to zoom in, zoom out. I'm like, I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm like, I kind of stopped using it.
Yeah, somebody was saying earlier too that I think I missed who it was because it was a while ago in the chat, but somebody was saying that the user experience is so important here, and not just Genspark, right? That would be any company like this. I mean, you know, there's people who really like Perplexity. I do. I love Perplexity's layout and stuff. I'm a fan of their UI, but that's not because I think Perplexity isn't getting eaten up piece by piece by Google in a lot of ways and stuff like that. But if they've built a big enough of the fan base or people who just generally like Perplexity, they could certainly survive on that. So it's worth mentioning, just, you know, even if Genspark literally can do everything or other tools independently, a beautiful.ai or something like that can do all these things. I think it's also worth mentioning, like to your point, Carl, maybe I just like Genspark. Maybe I just like the way they lay things out. And even if they don't necessarily have a moat, it's just a preference. And there's many companies that can survive on that. So who's to say they won't?
Yeah, and the thing is we don't know, because it's like, you know, I've heard in how good Perplexity is, I've heard some people who are very, very skeptical on it. And I'm like, I'm curious to know what the skeptical, like why they went down the skeptical path of Perplexity, just because I'm like, Perplexity really, there's a lot of good stuff about it. But it maybe they just don't like just personal preference. I don't know why I'd use it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm, yeah, but there's a lot of people who use it. But just like Genspark, right? Like Genspark and Manus, I just don't know where is this a particular niche in AI, or will it be one of those in 6 months? Anthropic, Gemini, and ChatGPT have gobbled it up or released all the tooling features that these are no longer. I don't know where this is going. What's interesting is, though, I don't know. We've heard about. Have you heard about the browser company's new Dia browser? I don't know how to pronounce that. There's a lot of talk about it.
No, from Arc Browsing, that company.
Yeah, there's that. There's Genspark browser. So I'm curious to know.
Perplexity is coming out with Comet.
Yeah, exactly.
We haven't seen it. We don't know what it is, but if you can get on a list for it. I doubt any of these companies will take over Chrome, Safari, right? Internet Explorer, Firefox. I don't think they'll take the share. I'm curious to know why they're going the browser route. Like, is it as an adjunct? It's like, oh, it'll open a browser to do it, or is there something why they're going? I'm curious to know just why. I think because the browser, right, is like it's meeting people where they currently are, and it's probably easier to get people on board with saying, look, this is just like Chrome, but it does these amazing things. Yeah. You might want to use it. I mean, look, Brave's big thing now that we just saw that Genspark is built on the back of Brave. I love Brave. Brave is just like their whole thing is like they're kind of like DuckDuckGo or DuckDuck. Yeah, I think that's DuckDuckGo, right? Like, we don't share your information. We just you just won't see ads on Brave. That's not how they do it. Their whole point is they're not tracking, they're not doing cookies or whatever. And there's pluses and minuses of that, obviously. But I love the Brave browser. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's where people already are. And if you can build a really, really intelligent browser, I'm not sure if we've seen one yet. We're definitely seeing, hints of it. But if you can build a really great browser experience that can build things on the side for you, go agentically, maybe go look at 5 or 6 things. A video I was seeing, the guy had it, analyzing all of his YouTube content, and it went off, let's say, and did that. He had to tell it what to do, what he was asking for, and all that. But then it, like a tool, it went and did the workflow and ran through the data. And he was like, look, I don't have to be here while this is running. True. Also not what we would maybe consider to be an agentic workflow. He, as the user, still had to set that up and hit go, which is sort of what you're showing. But eventually we know where this is going is there'll be some smart browser that, like, when you come back to the computer, you come back to your phone, it will have done work on your behalf because it thinks ahead of you. It's trying to think ahead of you and to guess at what it is you're going to want to see in the morning. No different than the way Google might present the news to me in a personalized way. That's where I think this is good. Just to answer your bigger question, like why the browser? I just think it's because that's where people are very comfortable right now. But, Chrome came in, and before Chrome, we had Netscape and we had Firefox and Mozilla, and Chrome unseated that for probably 2+ decades now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they get to stay on that hill. They could easily be knocked off. So who knows?
One thing that got thinking about me is maybe the play isn't to knock off Chrome to get people to use the browser. Maybe the play is not necessarily for people. People could still use the browser, but maybe they're setting it up so that the agent, when it opens to go find something, it has a browser to do that, or it's like it gives it sort of its own playground. So like, because its own agent, it needs its own browser to do a bunch of stuff, and they're building. And this is just, I'm just literally.
It could be a technical limitation because there is headless browsers that are currently being used, but they can't access everything, especially if it's built in JavaScript or things like that. So having a visual browser to sort through things is probably just a technical shortcut.
Yeah.
I have an update on the ownership of Genspark. So Manus is a Chinese-founded, Chinese-operated, legally registered Singaporean company. It's a Chinese AI company. Genspark is also registered in Singapore, but also in the United States. It was founded by 2 Baidu executives, so it's Chinese-founded, but they chose to go down a path which would make it independent of Chinese legal ownership and investor structure.
Gotcha.
Yep. And I think they have another major office in Singapore is what I saw. And they're looking to expand to Seattle and some other areas as well. All right. Well, Carl, first and foremost, you're awesome. Thank you for all that really good demo in it, because truthfully, I had not really put any sort of main focus on Genspark. You're kind of like Manus. It was just there in my periphery. But one, because I don't have a Mac, that was part of it. And I think the browser only works on Mac OS currently, correct? I don't think there's Windows. So I really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of value out of this. Hopefully you guys did too. And of course, we want the feedback. So if you guys did get a lot of value out of this, if you like when we go deep dive into a particular topic, hey, let us know, because there's no shortage of AI tools, but trying to figure out what people are most interested in, what's coming down the pike, those kind of things. We always want to have feedback from you guys. So do that if you can. Obviously, like and subscribe to the show if you like what we're doing here. We'll be back the rest of the week. We have our AI news tomorrow. On Thursday, in honor of it being Juneteenth, we're going to be talking about ethics. We're going to be talking about biases inside AI. We've had those conversations before. We're going to circle back to it, kind of see where we are today. We were just talking about companies and where they're owned and things like that. And that plays a factor as well. So that'll be on Thursday. And then Friday, it's our AI for Good show, where we will come and hopefully you guys as well in the live comments or just in comments in general. It's AI for Good. So things that you've seen AI be part of, that is for good. It's doing good in the world in one way or the other, and it's really up to you how you define that. We've seen so many different scientific breakthroughs with protein synthesis and all protein folds and all sorts of amazing good stuff, but there's truthfully probably another 100 stories out there that are worth sharing. So we'll come with what we like, you guys come with yours in the comments, and we'll have a great show about that and talk about all the AI for good, which is a fantastic way to wrap up this week. So news tomorrow, bias on Thursday, and then AI for good on Friday. And then other than that, if you want to keep the conversation going, you can do that by joining our Slack community. It's free. And you can go to the Daily AI Show community.com. It'll take you right there to the login screen. So you can keep talking about all this goodness, ask more questions to Carl and everybody else about Genspark. DeepSeek is all I had. Genspark, Manus, or anything else you might have a question about. All right, that's it for us today, guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Aloha.